Hello and welcome, I'm SimUK, and it is my goal to provide to you the most honest, fact-based critical reviews on YouTube. If you find this review helpful, then please hit that like button, subscribe, and help to support the channel by donating via the links below. Thank you so much, and enjoy the review. Hello me hearties, and welcome, I am SimUK. Port Royale 4 releases today, and this review was formulated over approximately 20 hours of gameplay using the early access copy which was provided to me for review purposes. Port Royale 4 is an RTS Caribbean naval-based trading and piracy game based in the 16th century, which means ships, rum, and more ships, and more rum. There are going to be 4 campaigns led by the 4 most prominent nations at the time: Spain, England, France and Holland. Completing each campaign unlocks the next, and each campaign can take approximately 20 to 30 hours to complete. And in addition to the campaigns and the tutorials, there is also a sandbox mode, which allows you to pick and choose your starting level of difficulty and your objectives. Combat is now turn-based, and it requires new levels of tactical awareness and understanding in order to become proficient. And lastly, but not leastly, we have city management to keep us busy and entertained. And if all of that wasn't enough already, we also have side missions, objectives, fame points, treasure maps, statues to discover, and much, much more. I hope you're not planning on going anywhere. There's a lot to discuss. So by far the best place to start in Port Royale 4 is by completing the tutorials, which I have to say are pretty good. The game even offers you some bonus ships if you do complete the tutorial, so it's definitely worth doing. But if you're too busy for all of that tutorial stuff, then you can either watch my beginner's guide or watch my first look tutorial experience over on SimUK Let's Play. Port Royale 4 starts with you jumping into the Spanish campaign, which will afford you 3 convoys consisting of 5 ships and give you control over the city, Seville. To start with, you have limited funds, no trade routes, or any sources of income available to you. Trading requires a license, and each license starts at 10,000 coins, regardless of the size of the city. So my advice would be to aim big. Each city has the ability to produce a maximum of 7 commodities, again, regardless of their size. This is the basis then of the supply and demand system. If City A cannot grow vegetables and City B can, then you have a trade route opportunity. Sometimes City B requires goods from City A in order to produce more advanced goods, and so it goes. As you access more and more ports, the price for the trading licenses increase until you're paying over 100,000 coins for each additional trading license. Trading within cities increases your favour over time depending on their particular demands, and eventually you can apply for building permission, at an additional cost of course. This will then allow you to build businesses which will generate additional produce and income for you to expand even further. As you create businesses, you also create job opportunities, and the city in question can then grow. The accommodation and provision requirements of these additional workers and their families must be met, and initially you will have no control over this, and you are completely reliant on the city mayors to construct buildings as required, as long as they have the necessary resources, which is kind of your responsibility. Now this is not the case in your own starting city, where you have immediate control over what, where and when. And as you grow your city, you must manage hospitals, places of worship, taverns, parks, and as you grow, there are certain buildings which are required in order to allow your residence cap to increase, and in doing so, you will unlock even more buildings and opportunities, eventually culminating in the acquisition of the large shipyards. But nothing is as simple as it sounds. You are constantly tasked with objectives and time limits within which to achieve them. Many of these objectives require special unlocks which can only be obtained via the viceroy at the expense of fame points. Now, fame points are absolutely essential in Port Royale 4, and they are incredibly hard to come by. By far, I think the quickest way to obtain them is to complete as many of the main objectives and the numerous mini-quests as you can. You can find them strewn about all over the map. Sometimes there are capsized men in need of rescue, or cities which demand certain goods in large quantities. You might even discover enough treasure map fragments to become really famous. But no matter how you obtain them, they are not to be squandered. Unless, of course, you want to add hour upon hour of additional waiting times to your progression. Graphically, Port Royale 4 flitters between highly detailed and beautiful graphics, and then sometimes upon closer inspection they can appear pixelated and blurry. Now, I'm not sure if this is an early build issue or whether it's by design. Overall though, the Caribbean environment is wonderfully represented, and there are enough seagulls, waves and cannon fire audio bites to keep you immersed. Whilst the ships do look different up close, in the UI, they are notoriously difficult to differentiate. This is a small irritation, however, and the environment ultimately wins out, giving Port Royale 4 an aesthetically pleasing overall graphical experience. So Port Royale 4 certainly is an addictive and at times pleasurable experience, and it is ultimately designed to be realistic. But I find too many times there are shortcuts, some rather odd design choices, and some poor mechanics which make this game unnecessarily frustrating. Port Royale 4 is designed to be a constant uphill battle. The more that you achieve and succeed, the harder the game becomes. But the core element to it all is, of course, trade. The trade and economic system in this game is rather impressive. Each nation and each city is constantly evolving and growing or retracting, and that has a direct correlation in the demand for goods and, of course, their buy-sell prices. The buy and sell prices are also affected by the number of available barrels in stock, and as nothing ever goes out of date, you can be certain that you're never going to run out. But even if a city already has 5,000 barrels of corn, you can simply roll up with your fleet and offload an additional 5,000 barrels of the same goods, admittedly at a massively reduced price, but even if they don't need it. So effectively, the supply and demand system in this game can be completely overridden by you, which kind of breaks the immersion. Furthermore, the ham-fisted, multi-click and poorly designed trade interface is something I think will have to change quickly, or fear of alienating the entire player base is definitely an option. There are no search options within the trade UI. There are no filters, no ordering system, no reset button, no set all to this button. The list goes on, and it's just a single menu screen. The way that the trade system UI has been designed, in my humble opinion, shows that it has been given little thought, care or attention. And this can only have been facilitated by the endless drone of early access gamers like me, but those who in no way have offered any critical feedback to the dev team at all. And to cap it all off, the information that's displayed here is ambiguous. It's never fully explained within the game, and it quite often fails to do what you expect them to do, what you have asked them to do. An example would be, City A wants 100 cakes for a party. Well, okay, I'm already supplying them with cakes from City B, and City B has got 150 cakes ready to sell. Now, admittedly, the price might be a little higher than I want to spend, but I have set my auto trade system to buy based on demand, no matter what the price is, and I've even put 5 stars on City A for cakes. so it should all be fine, right? But no, it isn't fine. The next ship, which passes through City B, picks up 12 cakes. And what really twists my melon is that when it reaches City A, the city who want 100 cakes, they only offload 10 of them. What the hell is going on? You can, of course, take a ship off of a trade route and just do that trade yourself, and in fact, that is definitely the way I recommend doing it. But it just shows that the whole system is a little bit fragile, or poorly implemented in my humble opinion. But that's not all. There are other very annoying issues, like for example when you're creating a fleet of battleships, which are limited to an embarrassing maximum number of 8. In order to combine 2 fleets together, you have to take them back to shore and park them in a lighthouse, and at that point you can join them with another fleet. You cannot, for example, sail 4 brand new ships from port out to sea and reinforce or even expand an existing fleet who are already on patrol. Instead, what you have to do is sail all of them back to the nearest port so nobody is on patrol anymore, and then you can do this whole lighthouse transformation thing, which is just clunky and horrible. And whilst we're on the subject of captains, the captains in this game should not be called captains. They should be called admirals. There is no way on earth that I would have 50 ships trading in close proximity to each other in shallow waters without a bloody good captain on board. These captains should be called admirals, and each ship should require a captain. Of course, that would be at an additional cost to us, the player, and if they had certain perks, that would help the ships that they are sailing. This one change alone, I think, would improve the immersion tenfold for me. In conclusion then, Port Royale 4 is an entertaining, mostly enjoyable naval combat and trading RTS, which can keep you engaged for hours on end, with 1 or 2 frustrations along the way. The voice acting and the storylines within the campaigns are of the highest quality, and overall it delivers an improvement on Port Royale 3, although the change to turn-based combat system is not going to suit everyone. With a price tag of £40, this is probably a game which is only ever going to entice those familiar with the series or those with a strong lust for against-the-odds uphill challenges. It is pleasant enough to look at, and the audio is certainly adequate too, but I feel that this is a game which has considerably underdeveloped its own potential once again. So much more could be done with city management overall, and the city management interface is again difficult to utilise, as identifying what is where becomes a bit of a guessing game. This is an area which was pretty poor in Port Royale 3 and has potentially gotten a little bit worse despite the improved graphics. The sailing elements for me are way too simplistic, with winds and weather set from the start and not being in any way dynamic. Although storms do randomly appear, they only appear in set locations on the map, and as such can be completely avoided. And whilst there are inclusions of sailing physics, for example sailing in the shallows or sailing against the wind, they're really poorly implemented, and I have yet to see a single ship tack, even once, which is a massive shame. There's also another frustration that I noticed when you're trying to chase down an enemy unit. If you're trying to track down a pirate, for example, and you're about the same speed but maybe you're just slightly faster, for some reason when you're following, your ship will consistently stop for half a second every few hundred yards, meaning that you never catch them, or you catch them incredibly painfully slowly. The new turn-based combat system is functional, yet contrasting to absolutely everything else that's in this game, and seemingly it benefits the AI rather than the player. But the AI intellect definitely fluctuates around an inebriated spanner rather than a Herculean mastermind. And whilst smaller ships and indeed smaller fleets can overwhelm and win battles against bigger enemies, if the correct tactics are employed of course, then it is the mechanics and the controls of the system which are clunky and at times do cause you to make accidental movements or just struggle to put the boat where you really want it. Another small but incredibly frustrating thing I forgot to mention are ship repairs, which are completely automated at all times. And whilst I appreciate the fact that ships will need to be maintained and repaired at times, it can be incredibly annoying, adding unbelievable delays where they need not be. And this is one of the few areas where you cannot micromanage in this game. You cannot stop a repair once it has been started. When you see a brand new ship receiving repairs whilst the local pirates are destroying your trade routes, it can irritate you more than I can put into words. Ultimately, the trade system and the game's UI interface, when combined with some of the mechanics, really can be very frustrating in this game, but not enough to stop you from enjoying the overall progression which is provided, especially within the campaigns themselves, which do appear to be well thought out and rather enticing. So if you're into this type of game or familiar with the series, then I think that this will definitely provide you a lot of positive moments, but almost certainly it's going to add a few negative ones to boot. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and feel free to donate to the channel and help us create more reviews like this one today. Take care of yourselves until next time. Goodbye.
May God protect you and the king.